Let me know that you are here. Balamurugan asks, hello sir, can we go? How can we go somewhere in your class, sir? What do you mean? Karthik, if you are opening your NCERT textbook for the first time, chapter 3 and chapter 4 are the two chapters, motion in one dimension and motion in two dimension. Okay? Motion in a straight line is chapter 3, motion on a plane is chapter 4. Those are the two chapters. Okay? Okay, got it. Balamurugan, got it. Okay, Pranav, understood. Thank you. Madhumita asks, sir, when is our school exam? I got no idea, Madhumita. Sorry. Can you, if you wish to know about that information, please call up Seeker's front office or maybe school office itself. You call, they'll be able to tell you. Balamurugan has some doubts with integration. Message me, da. Someone just sent me something. What is that? Okay, this is the schedule. Thank you. Ajay, thank you. But is this for all schools or your school only, Ajay? You don't seem to be from KNMS. Okay, good. Okay, Madhumita, here is the schedule that you are asking. New for me also. 17th August is maths, then physics, chemistry, biology. The consecutive days in that order. Sri Raghavendra says this is for all schools. Apparently, this is for all schools. And the portions for physics, the portions are chapters 2, 3, 4 in your NCERT textbook. Okay, from your NCERT textbook, chapters 2, 3, 4, except for circular motion, of course. Okay, the small part, circular motion in chapter 4 will not be included. Otherwise, everything will be there. Muhammad Safiq asked, will that be difficult? I don't know. You tell me after the exam. You please tell me if it is difficult or easy. How can someone prepare for an exam knowing that it's going to be easy or difficult? If you know the exam is going to be difficult, you're not going to prepare for it. If you know that the exam is going to be easy, you're still not going to prepare for it. Please do not ask such questions before the exam. In fact, prepare so hard that you pray for the exam to be hard. Okay, to pray for the exam to be difficult. You prepare so hard like that. Try to hope for the exam to be difficult so that only you can write it. Prepare that hard. Okay, Campion Victor D says, I'm from state board. Should I take the rest test? I don't know, Victor. I'm really sorry. I don't know. Please call up front office of Seekers and ask them. Okay? Understood, no, Victor? Yeah. Kaushik Babu, I do some questions in both differentiation and integration. But first one was easy, sir. Integration was a little confusing. Of course, integration will be difficult or confusing for you because currently we basically did not do anything in integration at all. It's a very, very small thing that we did. So it will be confusing. Don't worry about it. The more we practice, we will understand better. All right, so I hope I'm audible. I'm changing to the Jamboard. This is a test Jamboard. Okay. This is a test Jamboard. Aparajita, that is not the agenda for today, Aparajita. One-dimensional problems are actually not the agenda today. We were supposed to do some revision. Okay. Prasanna Venkatesh, can you do a face cam? I can, but I won't. This is like for internal marks or seeker test, sir. This is not seeker's test. Midterm exam is for school. They may probably consider this for internal assessment. So please prepare well. Please prepare well. Prasanna Venkatesh, okay? I mean Siddharth, sorry. Okay, I'm closing the chat. Let us continue to the class today. Maybe I'll share the Jamboard link to you on the chat. So there is a link. This is a test board, which means this will not be a regular board that we will be using. So it's kind of a temporary one. So don't dwell on it. And we are on the 7th slide on this page, 7th slide on the board. We are on the 7th slide on the board. The previous 6 slides were for different classes. So don't worry, don't get intimidated by them. We are on the 7th slide and we'll be doing some revision. Revision, we'll start with kinematics only, motion in one dimension. Simple revisions only we'll do. Very fast, very quick. Point by point we'll do. Okay, first one. Position is something that is a relative term. Position is relative. This basically means motion is also relative. Position is relative and motion is change in position. Then motion also is a relative term. Second one. Now that we have moved forward in our syllabus, here itself I can say velocity of object A with respect to object B. With respect to object B is written as VAB bar is equal to VA bar minus VB bar. That is like velocity. For acceleration, you could say AAB bar, meaning acceleration of object A with respect to object B is equal to AA bar minus AB bar. Now this velocity of A and velocity of B must have been measured in the same reference. So I can call that reference as O. I can call that reference as O and say some common reference. That common reference could be anything. It could be point O, it could be ground, it could be an observer, it could be anything. Okay, we will do that revision also, Madhumita, don't worry. Kaushik Babu, maybe the population is already full. That's why it's not opening. Okay. Next. I mean, because we use the word relative, I am starting it directly like that. And then next, we saw some of the motion parameters. We saw the definitions and description of some motion parameters. What were the motion parameters that we saw? First one, position. Position was vector, SI unit meters, dimensional formula L, and what else? The symbol for that is R bar, etc. So this is like regarding position. Position being a vector can only be greater than or equal to 0, but it can increase or decrease or stay constant. I'm writing in symbols, so I hope you can understand this. Okay, the description of position. Okay, like that. Second one, distance. Second motion parameter is distance. Distance is a scalar quantity. SI unit is meters. Dimensional formula is L. Symbol for that is usually D. Distance cannot be negative, which means it is also greater than or equal to 0. Distance can only increase or stay constant in any given interval. Distance is never going to decrease with time. Distance never decreases with time. Remember, all these increase decrease are with respect to time only. Third one, displacement. Displacement, while distance is defined as the total length of the path traveled by an object, displacement is a vector whose magnitude is nothing but the change in position. Or you could say the displacement's magnitude is the length of the straight line joining the initial and final points. while the direction of displacement vector is from the initial point to the final point. So you could say displacement is denoted as S bar. S bar is equal to change in position vector. That is the definition of displacement. And it is a vector, of course, measured in meters, dimensional formula L, written as capital S bar. Because it is a vector, it cannot have a negative magnitude, so it's greater than or equal to 0 always. Okay, but we can assign a negative value though. We can assign a negative number in graphs. That's a different issue. Anyway, the displacement can increase, can decrease, can stay constant. Displacement is said to be increasing if the particle is moving away from the initial point. Displacement is said to be decreasing in magnitude as the particle is coming towards the initial point. Displacement is said to be staying constant as long as the particles, the distance of particle from the initial point is not changing. Okay. Okay, fine. Fourth one, speed. Okay, the speed is basically a scalar quantity. It is measured in meters per second or kilometers per hour, the two units of speed. The dimensional formula of the same is L t power minus 2, t power minus 1, sorry. The symbol for speed is S. Speed cannot be negative, so always greater than or equal to 0. Speed can increase, speed can decrease, speed can stay constant in any given time interval. Okay, and there we have a couple of formulae. Average speed is equal to total distance covered by total time taken. Also conversion between kilometer per hour and meter per second. 1 kilometer per hour is equal to 5 by 18 meters per second. That's a conversion formula. Okay, then next, velocity. Velocity is a vector quantity measured in meters per second. Dimensional formula being L t power minus 1. Okay, and the symbol for velocity is V bar. V can be positive or equal to 0 or negative based on what sign we give. We'll use the same thing with displacement also. Velocity can be positive, can be negative, can be 0, depending on what convention you are using, depending on convention. But the magnitude of a vector actually usually is not negative. Understand that. And the velocity in magnitude can increase or decrease or can stay constant. Velocity is said to be positive if the particle is moving in the direction of positive displacement. Okay, if any particular direction is taken as positive for displacement, if the object is moving in that direction, meaning the displacement is increasing, then you say velocity is positive. See, basically, if the positive displacement increases, then velocity is positive. If the negative displacement increases in magnitude, then velocity is negative, like that. Understood, no? Okay. Last one, acceleration. Acceleration is a vector. I did not write the formula there, I can write it newly, no issues. Vector, SI unit is written as meter per second square. Dimensional formula of the same is L t power minus 2. Symbol is A bar, can be positive or equal to 0 or negative based on convention. Acceleration can increase, can decrease, can stay constant in any given time interval. These are the things that you need to know about these motion parameters. Is it? The voice is breaking, huh? Okay. Okay, fine. I'll try to be as close as possible to the monitor. Yeah. So these are the things about motion parameters that we need to know. And then we saw something called states of motion. What are several states of motion that are possible? Some of the common states of motion, of course, not all. Some of the commonly observed states of motion. First one, state of rest. State of rest can be of two types: instantaneous rest, or you could call it as a state of momentary rest. You can call that as a state of momentary rest. And then there is a state of rest in a time interval. Okay, a prolonged rest. Prolonged rest means an object being stationary in a time interval. I'm speaking as slow as possible. Okay. If an object is at rest for a prolonged amount of time, in a time interval, if the object is at rest, if it is stationary, then you say it is in a state of prolonged rest. If it attains zero velocity only for an instant, only at an instant, then you say it is in a state of momentary rest. If an object comes to a state of momentary rest, you can say speed is equal to 0, velocity is equal to 0, but acceleration is not equal to 0 at that moment. But if an object is in a state of prolonged rest, you could say S is equal to 0, V is equal to 0, also A is equal to 0. Throughout the time interval, you can say acceleration is 0, while velocity is also 0. This is called state of rest. Second, state of uniform motion. State of uniform motion. Okay. This you will say when an object performs motion with a constant velocity. If an object moves with a constant velocity, then you say that it is performing uniform motion. Obviously, when V is constant, S would also be constant, speed would also be constant. Also, you can say about acceleration is 0 for this. Acceleration is 0. If the velocity is constant and acceleration being rate of change of velocity is also 0 here. The third state of motion that we see usually is acceleration, state of uniformly accelerated motion. Uniformly accelerated motion. Okay, by the name itself, we can understand that this is a motion where acceleration is constant. This means velocity is not constant. Velocity increases or decreases uniformly. Velocity increases or decreases uniformly with time. In 1 second, if there is a 3 meter per second increase in velocity, in any 1 second taken anywhere, there is a 3 meter per second increase in velocity. That kind of motion is called as uniformly accelerated motion. And then state of uniform circular motion. State of uniform circular motion. We have not studied a lot about this, but we understand the particle performs a circular motion with a constant speed, but because it is on a circular path, its velocity is not constant. Velocity is not constant, and clearly acceleration is not constant also. Acceleration is neither constant nor is equal to 0. Okay, that is state of uniform circular motion. These are some of the states of motion that we have in our syllabus. In each of these states of motion, what are the equations of motion that we can write? Equations of motion that we can write in these states, what are applicable? Okay, so this is the previous slide. Try to take a screenshot now. Yeah. Try to take a screenshot now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So equations of motion, that in state of uniform motion, what equations are applicable? You could say displacement is equal to velocity into time. In state of uniform motion, you could say displacement is equal to velocity into time. Distance is equal to speed into time. These things are valid for state of uniform motion. Also, in general sense, for any state of motion, in general sense, you could say average speed is equal to total distance by total time taken. Average velocity vector is equal to total displacement by total time taken vector. Okay, try to understand that distance traveled is always going to be more than or equal to magnitude of displacement vector. Therefore, average speed of an object in any interval of time is always going to be more than or equal to magnitude of average velocity of the object in the same interval of time over the same time interval. Understood? These could be 1 mark or 2 mark questions. Understood? No concept based questions in general sense. That is. Then two travels happening at speeds u and v for same amounts of time. Then average speed over complete journey. Complete journey means both travels together is equal to u plus v by 2. If a travel 1 takes place at a speed of u and travel 2 takes place at a speed of v, and both travels have taken place only for the same amount of time, then the overall journey takes place at an average speed of u plus v by 2. Similarly, two travels happening at speeds u comma v respectively for same distances covered. In travel 1, whatever distance is covered, in travel 2 also same distance is covered. In that case, average speed over the whole journey or complete journey is given by 2uv by u plus v. We have done problems based on this formula, but we have never written this formula as such. But we have done problems. Okay, so there could be a question to derive these answers, or there could be a numerical based on this formula. So, however it is useful, know this. Then, for state of uniformly accelerated motion, for state of uniformly accelerated motion, okay, let us say given is initial velocity is equal to u, final velocity is equal to v, time of the interval is equal to t, acceleration that was constant during the time is equal to a, displacement attained during the time interval is equal to s. Let us say these are the things that are there. Okay, in that case, by definition of acceleration, a is equal to change in velocity by time taken. A is equal to change in velocity by time taken. That implies v is equal to u plus at. Then, by definition, average velocity is equal to initial velocity plus final velocity by 2, which can actually be written as displacement by time taken. That is by definition of average velocity, displacement by time taken. But for constant acceleration, you can write it as initial velocity plus final velocity divided by 2. Okay, so s by t is equal to u plus v by 2. V is nothing but u plus a into t divided by 2, the whole thing. So it is basically u plus at by 2. Rearranging, you get s is equal to ut plus half at squared. Another equation of motion. There seems to be some network problem, maybe. Try to stick with me. Maybe it is happening, I don't know why, but stick with me, please. S is equal to ut plus half at squared. Okay, that is the second equation of motion. Using the first equation and second equation, I can multiply those two. V minus u by t into v plus u divided by 2 is equal to, from the first equation, v minus u by t is nothing but a. From the second equation, vu plus v by 2 is nothing but s by t. Multiplying these two, I get v square minus u square divided by 2t is equal to a into s divided by t. The t's get cancelled, giving me v square minus u square is equal to 2as. That is my third equation of motion. That is my third equation of motion. Now displacement achieved in the nth second. Displacement achieved in the nth second is written as S nth is equal to displacement achieved in n seconds minus displacement achieved in n minus 1 seconds. Substituting that, you get un plus half a n square minus of u into n minus 1 plus half a into n minus 1 whole square. Rearranging this, you get S n is equal to u plus a by 2 into 2n minus 1. Displacement attained in the nth second of a travel. S n is equal to u plus a by 2 into 2n minus 1. That is another equation of motion. Okay, that is another equation of motion for uniformly accelerated motion. Okay, for uniformly accelerated motion, these are the equations applicable. These are only valid if a is constant. Okay, these are the four equations of motion. You don't have to do this one actually, the fourth one. You consider the first three equations as equations of motion. That is good enough. Understood? Now, they may ask you to derive these equations of motion using graphs also. Okay, particularly using one particular graph, which is velocity versus time graph. Let us first draw the graphs for different graphs for uniform motion and uniformly accelerated motion. Let us draw them. Graphs for uniform motion. What all graphs do we usually draw? Position versus time graph. If we are talking about uniform motion, in fact, I can do like this. Wait, just a second. Okay, I'll just put a heading: graphs for this describing motion. Graphs for describing motion. In that, I'll use different colors for different states of motion. That will be easy, no? Blue color for rest. Green color for uniform motion. Okay. Let me use red color for rest. Makes sense, no? And a blue color for uniformly accelerated motion. For all these three motions, let us try to draw several graphs. In one particular graph itself, I will draw all three. Okay. Let us say we are drawing a position versus time graph for state of rest. If an object is at rest at a particular point, then its position will not change. So you say the graph is this. This means what? Rest at a point R. Okay, R1 let us say. So this is R1. R1 is some position, some coordinate. Okay, object is at rest at that position, which means the graph will not change. Position versus time graph. Okay, what about uniform motion? If an object is in uniform motion, it performs constant velocity motion. Velocity is the rate of change of position. Rate of change of position with respect to time for this graph is basically slope. So uniform motion means velocity is constant. So slope of RT graph, slope of position time graph is constant. So graph will be a straight line with a non-zero slope. So the graph will probably be this. The graph will probably be this. You could say if this position is called R2, you say this is uniform motion. Okay, starting from position R2 like that. Or I can also have uniform motion like this, but this would be uniform motion starting from origin. That's a different position, that's all. R2 could be 0 for all we know. Okay, right. And then what? We can have uniformly accelerated motion. Uniformly accelerated motion is a parabolic graph. Usually it's a parabola. What is a parabola? You will learn in mathematics. For now, it is a diagram like circle, ellipse, etc. Parabola is a diagram in mathematics. This is for uniformly accelerated motion for, starting from position R3. That's all. Starting from position R3. Okay. R3 could be 0 also, which means then the position will start, the particle will start from origin. That's all. That's the only difference. I could have that graph also. Anyway, if I draw the graph for displacement versus time, position versus time graph and displacement versus time graph are fairly similar. But in particular, you could say the state of rest is depicted on time axis. State of rest. Now this is at what position? At any position. At any position. If the object is at rest, standing at any position, whether it is origin or a non-zero coordinate, at any position if the object is at rest, displacement time graph will be right on the time axis, lying on the time axis, because displacement is 0. In position graph, displacement is 0, position may be 0, may not be 0, but the position will be constant only for state of rest. Similarly, state of uniform motion will be a straight line having a slope. Okay, state of uniformly accelerated motion could be a parabola. Could be again a parabola. Understood? It could be parabola starting from origin. It could be parabola starting from elsewhere also. No issues. Yeah, and then velocity versus time graph. Velocity versus time graph. For state of rest, prolonged rest, no? So velocity will be 0. For state of rest, velocity will be constant and will be equal to 0. For state of uniform motion, velocity will be constant but a non-zero value, some v dash or v, whatever, or maybe you can call it as u. You could say uniform motion happening at a speed u. At a speed u. Okay, and then what? Uniformly accelerated motion, meaning acceleration is constant. For velocity time graph, acceleration is nothing but slope. For uniformly accelerated motion, if acceleration is constant, it means VT graph will be a straight line. VT graph will be a straight line. This is uniformly accelerated motion starting at u velocity. Okay, but if the graph is drawn like this would be uniformly accelerated motion starting from rest. This is not starting from origin. Understand this. Okay, for position time graph, origin means position 0. In velocity time graph, origin means state of rest, 0 velocity. Okay. Acceleration time graph for these motions, states of motion. Okay. For state of rest, acceleration is 0 because it is prolonged rest. This is state of rest. For uniform motion, acceleration is 0 only again, which means this is also right. Uniform motion, for that also acceleration time graph is a straight line along time axis. For uniformly accelerated motion, acceleration is constant, so it will be parallel to x-axis. Uniformly accelerated motion happening at a rate or happening at an acceleration a. That's what it means. Understood? Okay, Pranav asks, how will you draw VT graph for this? A particle moves in constant velocity u for some time and then stops after some time. So he's asking this particle, this is an example, okay? Particle moves at a constant velocity for some time and then comes to rest in some time. Apo, how do I draw? Velocity time graph is what he is asking. So when did the object start moving? We don't know about that. But when we started looking, or when we started studying the motion of the particle, it is already moving at a constant velocity. At least that's what is given in the question, which means the graph will be parallel to time axis for some time. For some time, it will be parallel to time axis. And then what? And then it comes to rest in some time, meaning velocity should become zero in some other time. Say for example, in T2, from T1 to T2, the velocity should become zero. Now this velocity should become zero in what way? Should it become zero linearly? Maybe. Should it become zero concave up? Maybe. Should it become zero concave down? Maybe. All these three are correct because information is not sufficient in the question. Okay, then comes to rest in some time. That is what Pranav said. Comes to rest in some time. So it would have come to rest at a constant retardation or a variable retardation. If it had come to rest with a constant retardation, the graph would be a straight line. If it's not a constant retardation, it could either be this or this, depending on the situation. So if the data is complete, maybe we can draw the graph. Otherwise, that's all we can do. Understood, na Pranav? Okay. And this, of course, regarding these graphs, regarding velocity time graph, slope of this graph gives you acceleration. Area under the graph gives you displacement. For acceleration time graph, slope gives you jerk, but not in syllabus. Okay, don't worry. Area under acceleration time graph gives you change in velocity. It does not give you velocity. Remember, area under acceleration time graph gives you change in velocity. Basically, you know that A is equal to dv by dt. Apo I can say dv is equal to A into dt. Okay, integrating on both sides, I get integral of dv is equal to integral of A into dt. Okay, this is in a time interval. Time interval is from t1 to t2. Let us say velocity changes from u to v. So if you integrate dv from u to v, what you get is v minus u. Okay, integral of dv is v, but you have to substitute upper limit first, minus you substitute lower limit. You remember that, no? Definite integral. So this is v minus u is equal to, on right hand side, if a is constant, a into t2 minus t1. In fact, this is that equation, v minus u equal to at. Okay. So remember that when you do this integral, no? When you do this integral, integral a into dt is called area under acceleration time graph. Integral of a into dt is nothing but the area under acceleration time graph, and that gives you what? Change in velocity, not exactly velocity. Remember, gives you change in velocity. Similarly, for displacement time graph, slope gives velocity. Slope of the displacement time graph gives you velocity. Area under the graph, we don't worry about that. Position versus time graph. Slope of this graph gives you velocity too. Okay. Area under this graph, we don't worry about that. In VT graph, let's say it's starting from velocity u, not zero. Then why do we take the whole area under instead of triangle alone? We have to take the whole area. Area is always meant to be measured with x-axis. Area bound by the graph with x-axis. Vidushan, can we use integration to prove the equations graphically? Yes, of course. You're actually supposed to do that, but then it is constant acceleration only, so you don't need to use integration. It becomes very quick. Even without integration, it becomes very quick. Okay, so for velocity graph, that's all, no? Are we missing anything? In fact, for velocity time graph, area actually gives you displacement, or you can call that as change in position. You can call it as displacement as well as change in position. Same logic. We know that V is equal to dr by dt. This implies dr is equal to V into dt. Integrating on both sides, integral dr is equal to integral V into dt. Time interval is changing from t1 to t2. Let us say position changes from R1 to R2 in the same time, let us say. In that case, left-hand side is delta R is equal to R2 minus R1, which is right-hand side is nothing but integral of V into dt from T1 to T2. This is basically area under VT graph. Understood now? This is nothing but area under VT graph. And what does it give? Change in position, which is nothing but displacement. Which is nothing but displacement. Vetrivel asked a doubt above. I don't know, I made a mistake. You said you have a doubt. What doubt do you have? Huh? I think I lost the message. Please send me it again. Vetrivel. Yes, Ashwin. Sir, in this test, is there any question related to using integration? You may not, probably you may not, but I'm not sure. Okay? There will not be anything that is big. Don't worry. Some graph question in old tests are difficult. It looks irregular going up and down below x-axis. Try to read those graphs. I mean, because we have done calculus now, I think we can learn graph theory also a bit. I don't know about it, but I'll ask Murli sir if I can teach you graph theory. If it can be done, we'll do it on Monday. Okay? I'll teach you how to draw graphs, how to understand or interpret graphs. I'll have to ask and confirm before that. Okay, Vetrivel, no issues. So these are graphs for describing motion. Okay? Basically understand one thing. If someone says a graph like this, RT graph, and the graph is like this. Now, is this graph possible at all? If you draw a vertical line, it meets the time axis at a certain time instant t1. The graph seems to, the vertical line seems to cut the graph at two different points. Meaning there is a position at t1, let us say r1. There is another position for the particle at a time instant t1, let us say r2. Now, can one particle be at two different positions at the same time? That is not even meaningful, no? Even the question sounds very stupid. A particle cannot have been at two different positions or more than one position at any given time instant, which means this graph is not possible. This RT graph is impossible. That's what it means. I can do the same thing with velocity. I could say V1 and V2. At the same instant, the object has two velocities. Not possible. This velocity is unique. Cannot have two different velocities at the same point, same instant. Understood now? So that graph is basically impossible. So there could be a question, graph-based questions where there could be a question which asks you which of the graphs is not possible or could not be possible, like that. What you have to check there, usually the first thing you have to check is whether in any graph, if a vertical line is drawn anywhere, it does cut the graph into different, more than one point or not. That you have to check. If a vertical line drawn anywhere is able to cut the graph at more than one point, basically that point is, or that graph is not possible. It is not correct function. Okay, we defined functions. You learned function is that kind of a relation which maps every point in the domain, every element in the domain, but only once. Correct? No? So a function should be in such a way that when I draw a graph, at every x point there should be some y point. At every x point there should be some y point. Okay, but at one single x point there cannot be two y points. At single x point there cannot be two y points. However, at different x points there could be same y points. That's fine. This is fine. No problem at all. This is still a function. This is still a function. Okay, but this is not a function. You understand why? No, because at a particular value of x, there are two values of y. That is not a function. That could be a relation, but that is not a function. The definition of function is that. Okay, definition of function. A function is basically a set of mappings from one set to another set. The first set is called domain. The second set is called codomain. Okay, the set of mappings should be in such a way that every element of the domain must have one mapping and only one mapping. Every element of the domain must have a mapping, and each element of the first set must only have one mapping. We don't care about second set. We don't talk about mapping of second sets as far as definition of function is. Only if something is a function, you draw graph. Otherwise, you cannot. That's what it means. Okay. So this is not a valid graph. You understand? No? As simple as that. So that could be one validity question regarding graphs. Okay, Maria asks, what is the graph for acceleration versus time if a particle is projected upwards with a velocity u, comes back to the same position after some time? Okay, what kind of motion is that, Maria? The type of motion, when you throw an object upwards, it performs an ascent motion and then a descent motion. Both ascent and descent are happening under the influence of constant acceleration. Okay, ascent as well as descent, both are happening with constant acceleration. So what is acceleration time graph for an object thrown upwards and then it comes downwards? This, that's all. Acceleration is constant there. It's a logical question only. This graph question is basically a logical question only. Acceleration is constant, which means AT graph will be a straight line parallel to time axis. Now, should I draw the acceleration above time axis, or should I draw acceleration graph below time axis? Which of these is correct? Both of them are correct. This is correct. This is also correct. It is based on convention. This is based on a convention that downwards is positive. This is based on a convention that downwards is negative. That's all. Acceleration is downwards. If you take it as negative, you draw like this one. Okay, acceleration is downward. If you take downward as positive, you draw this one. That's the only difference. Understood? The new girl. Maria, did you understand this? Ah, great. Vidushan asks, sir, but sometimes we say two accelerations are acting in projectile. Doesn't it conflict with this? You are trying to say there that there are two influences that are causing accelerations, but the object can only have one acceleration, meaning you have to find resultant. That's all. Vidushan, you understand, no? I can always see, if I say acceleration is this, I can find components, no? I can always write acceleration is a sum of several accelerations, but they're all acting on the object at the same time. So it's only one acceleration as a whole. You can look at its components as more than one, but it's still of one acceleration only. Understood, Sudarshan? Pranav asks, how will you map a graph with both upward and downward motion? You cannot. Acceleration time graph, you cannot do that, Pranav. If I try to do the same thing with velocity time graph, I'm understanding upwards is positive, downwards is negative, let us say. For uniformly accelerated motion, acceleration is constant. So velocity time graph acceleration is slope. So slope is constant. So graph is a straight line. So as the object is going upwards, it has a positive slope. Sorry, velocity is upwards, so velocity is positive, but acceleration is downwards. So acceleration slope is negative. The graph will be this. At the topmost point, velocity becomes 0. So all this portion here, this is for ascent motion. After that, what happens? Then the object starts accelerating in the downward direction. So now velocity will be downwards. Acceleration is still downwards. So velocity is negative, acceleration is also negative. So slope is negative, velocity is also negative. So below x-axis with a negative slope. So that is how VT graph will look like for this graph. Okay. We have not even completed one-dimensional motion. In fact, okay. I'll just write the formula. In two-dimensional motion, there is no new concept that you will learn. Only formulas are there. So I'll just write them. Say object dropped from a height. Okay. In that case, object dropped from a height. In that case, what are the equations? H is equal to half gt square. B is equal to gt. Time to reach the ground. Time to reach the ground level is equal to root of 2h by g. Speed as it hits the ground is equal to root of 2gh. You can call that final velocity also if you want. Okay. So yeah, that's about it. Next, object thrown upwards from ground at a speed u. In this, what do we know? This is one example. This is another example. In this, what do we know? Time of ascent is equal to u by g. Time of descent is equal to u by g. Time of flight is equal to 2u by g. Maximum height reached is equal to u square by 2g. Speed of return is equal to u. It returns with the same speed. Velocity terms, you could say v bar equal to minus u bar. Initial velocity is upwards, final velocity is downwards. That's why. Okay, no. So this is for an object thrown upwards from the ground level. And then two-dimensional motion. Projectile motion. Projectile motion, u comma theta are given usually. In that case, what do we know? X is equal to u cos theta into t. You know, y is equal to u sin theta into t minus half gt square. Combining these two, we had written the projectile path equation. Y is equal to x tan theta minus g by 2 u square cos square theta into x square. Vx is equal to u cos theta at any instant. Vy is equal to u sin theta minus gt. V at any instant is root of Vx square plus Vy square. Angle made by velocity vector with horizontal is given by alpha is equal to tan inverse of Vy by Vx. Overall displacement at any instant is root of x square plus y square. Okay, these are regarding equations. And then formulae. Time of ascent is equal to u sin theta by g. Time of descent is also equal to u sin theta by g. Time of flight is equal to 2u sin theta divided by g. H max, maximum height attained, is equal to u square sin square theta by 2g. Range of the projectile, horizontal displacement maximum, that is u square sin 2 theta by g. This is regarding projectile motion. Try to relate projectile motion with this one. Okay, this one and this one are pretty similar. This happens at a vertical velocity u. This happens at a vertical velocity u sin theta. That is only difference. And then what is left? Horizontal projectile from h height at speed u. This is the next one. For this, what can we say? Vx is always going to be equal to u. Vy will become gt. V is equal to root of u square plus g square t square. Time of flight is equal to root of 2h by g. Try to relate this and relate this. You can easily remember that way. horizontal range here is equal to u into tf. So u into root of 2h by g. Speed with which it hits the ground. Speed at the ground level. V is equal to root of u square plus 2gh. So these are the formulae with which you can solve some numericals. These are the only formulae that you have in both the chapters together. Now I cannot start doing it, Balamurugan, so that would be tricky. You mean, is it the integral question? Is it integral questions that you're asking? Oh, for these questions. Okay, good. How to differentiate if whether they are talking about horizontal or oblique projectiles. That will be given in the question, Madhumita. Usually they say an object is projected above the ground level, making an angle 60 degree with the horizontal, with a velocity 20 meter per second. When you find that angle, they are talking about oblique projectile. If someone says from the top of a tower that is 180 meters high, an object is projected horizontally with a speed 10 meter per second. Now that's a question which is horizontal projectile. Understood, Madhumita? It would be in the question itself. That is what, when you do more practice, when you look at more questions and try to understand the language that they use. Good. Okay, anyway, so the revision for kinematics is done. Okay, for units and dimensions, if you need revision, please let me know in WhatsApp. Maybe I'll do it on Monday. For now, I will write the answers for these questions. I'll only write the answers. I'm not going to tell you how to do. I'll just write the answers. Check with your ones. Okay. The first one is e power x square by 2. So this would be e power 4 minus e by 2. First question answer. First question answer, e power 4 minus e by 2. Second one, minus 2x is missing. So minus 1 by 2 into 1 by 2 root of 4 root of 100 minus x square. Oh, no, sorry. Power 3 by 2 by 3 by 2, 4. So minus 1 by 3, 100 minus x square, whole power 3 by 2, I think. This is the answer. Okay. For second one, that would be the answer. Yeah, correct only. Third one, you can integrate it term by term. So you get 2 e power x cube minus x square plus 8x plus c. I'm sorry about not writing c here. The first question c is not required. Fourth one, 12x cube plus 10x. So 2 is extra, no? So 2 into 3x power 4 plus 5x square plus 8 whole power 11 by 11 plus c. Fifth one, e power x square minus 2x cube plus x square plus 4x plus c. Sixth one, ln mod of e power 3x plus e power minus 3x plus c. Seventh one, 2 into x power 4 plus x square plus 11 whole power 10 divided by 10 plus c. Eighth one, 7x plus 1 whole power 11 divided by 77 plus c. Ninth one, 1 by 5 ln mod of x power 5 plus 10x plus 3 plus c. So these are the answers for the yesterday's question. Correct. 2 will be in the denominator. Okay, then, so check this out, check these answers, verify with yours, and if there is a discrepancy, let me know. Okay. All right, then, see you guys. Good luck for the weekend exam. Good luck for the upcoming subjective exam also, midterm. Okay, then, bye. Which link do you want, Atish? Jamboard link. Huh? There. It's okay. All right, so I'm closing the chat. I'll be closing the share also, and I'll end the meeting for all. Okay, see you guys. Bye. Good luck.